So today I'm going to give you uh, a brief insight into commonly used dhupana dravyas. Common in the sense some of these dravyas will surely come into handy right now when our movements are restricted. Some of these dravyas can be easily obtained from our kitchen store. So moving on to the topic. Speaking about dhupana, dhupana is fumigation, which is a well-known concept in Ayurveda. Actually, it is a very primitive method of sterilization using fragrant drugs. In the Amarakosha, dhupana has been defined as Lajyescha gandhescha tada vidaner abhyarchidam dhupana dhupidam cha, which means that fragrant drugs, usually in the form of coarse powder, just like similar in texture to laja, should be used for dhupana so that it gives out good fumes and it lights up easier. So while it has been also specifically mentioned that it must be sprinkled upon the flames. We must not directly put a large quantity onto the burning embers. It must be sprinkled upon. In India, most of us will be familiar with havanas, homas and yajnas, which are usually sacred rituals which are undertaken in temples. So from that itself we can understand these rituals, havana, homa and yajna, were prevalent from the ancient time period onwards. They are still practiced widely. In all these rituals, dhupana was very widely used. It is still used. To speak about its use, the use of dhupana. Dhupana is used in a lot of religious practices across cultures. So in Hinduism, incense and grita are burnt during these rituals. In Christianity, the church services use incense as a symbol of prayer. Usually the incense is in the form of granules or in the form of powders, and it is sprinkled upon burning embers, which are usually wood shavings or coal. They use a container called a thurible in which the embers are put and the incense is sprinkled on top of the embers, and it is hung on a chain. The priest swings the chain during the service so that the fumes coming out of the chain reach every nook and corner of the church or whichever place of worship. In Islam also, incense burning is an integral part of their prayer. In the Mediterranean, some mosques are also known to use olive leaves and resins for fumigation. Other religions like Judaism uses aromatic spices. Buddhism, which is widely practiced in Myanmar and Sri Lanka, uses incense. Taoism, which is practiced in China, the Shintoism of Japan, all these religions use incense in different forms, in different ways. In some of these places of worship, the incense is tied up into bundles and lighted up as a whole. Sometimes it is hung from ceilings, sometimes it is kept on a stand. Whatever the stream of worship, the use of incense or fumigation is universal. So when we speak about fumigation or dhupana, we have to remember another point, that is the Rakshogna karma too. Rakshogna karma was mentioned specifically by Sushrudacharya in the Sushruta Sutrasthana 5th chapter. So here Acharya defines Rakshogna karma as Rakshamsi Andariksha Charan Himsakan Jandun Dhupanadibihi Hanti iti Rakshognam Yadha Gugulu Agaru Vacha Sarshapa Nimbapatradi. So Rakshamsi Andariksha Charan Himsakan Jandun. So here the Himsaka Jandu, which has been mentioned here, can actually be correlated to the microbes which are present in our environment. So here Acharya advocates the use of fumigation with the help of drugs like Gugulu, Agaru, Vacha, Sarshapa and Nimbapatra for freeing our surroundings of microbes. The dhupana karma has actually two phases to it. There are two aspects to dhupana karma. One is a preventive aspect and the other is its curative aspect. So when it is used as a preventive, um, the whole body or a large area of our surroundings is exposed to this dhupana or medicated fumes. For example, as is the case with sacred rituals, during an epidemic like the one going on now, it's actually turned into a pandemic. Janapadodvamsa, we call it in Ayurveda. Vranitagara, that is the post-operative ward, can be sterilized with the help of dhupana. The Beshajagara, which is a medicine manufacturing unit, can also be sterilized in the same way. The Kumaragara, pediatric ward. Sutikagara, labor ward. Shastrakarma Graha, that is the operation theatre. Or it can be simply used to sterilize the pots which are meant for Sandana Kalpana. This is the preventive aspect of dhupana. Moving on to the curative aspect of dhupana, it is termed as dhumapana, where the medicated fumes are applied through a dhumapana netra through the oral or nasal route, or it can be applied to any area of the body depending upon the need or depending upon the particular disease. For example, in Vrana Chikilsa, Vrana Dhupana has been specifically mentioned by Sharingdhara Samhita. In Yoni Vyapad, these can be used. In Arshas, in Kushta, in Jwara, any disease, wherever the need arises, medicated fumes can be locally applied through the Dhumapana Netra. Whenever we go through references of dhupana, it is seen that it is scattered over our literature, Ayurvedic literature. To point out some of the important ones, the Brihatrayas mention the use of dhupana in Jwara, Kushta and Arshas. Kashipa Samhita has dedicated a whole chapter by the name of Dhupakalpa Adhyaya, containing almost 40 dhupana yogas for Dhumapana. And all these yogas are mentioned for use on newborns, children of various ages, and in diseased children. The Beda Samhita indicates the use of Dhumapana for treating Jwara, Aparasanga, and Arshas. The Harida Samhita advocates its use in Arshas and Grahadosha. The Sharingdhara Samhita has mentioned Vrana Dhupana as one of the 6 types of Dhumapana. Ashtanga Dhupa, the very popular Aparajita Dhupa Churna mentioned in Ashtanga Hridaya, both of them are indicated in Jwara. The Ashtanga Dhupa is mentioned by Chakradatta and Aparajita Dhupa Churna by Vagbhata. Arshogna Dhupa is mentioned by Charaka. These are only some of the examples. Now if we go through the sources of the dravyas used for fumigation, we can find that we get a lot of dravyas from plants. There are plant origin sources, for example, many of which we use. Most of the fumigating dravyas which we use are of plant origin. That is Gugulu, Nimba, Vacha, Jiraka, Sarshapa, all are of plant origin. Some of the fumigation dravyas are obtained from the Jangama sources also, like Gajacharma, Sarpafana, Sarpatwak, Marjara Shakrit mentioned in some of the Dhupa yogas. Minerals like Haratala and Manishila are also used for fumigation. Now, Dhupana dravyas are used in 3 forms. The first one is in the form of a chuna, second one in the form of a kalka, and the third one in the form of a varti. So, the churna form is the most popularly used form, where coarse powder of the drugs selected are sprinkled upon burning enders, and they are allowed to give out fumes. The kalka form has been mentioned by many acharyas in specific treatments. For example, in the Sharingdhara Samhita, Acharya has mentioned that the kalka of selected drugs are to be applied into the angara, that is the Sharava Samputa in which the burning embers are present, and Chidre Netram Niveshya, that is the Sharava Samputa indicated for performing fumigation will have a lid on top of which a small opening will be present, and it is into this opening that the Dhuma Netra has to be fixed, so that the fumes coming out of that mixture can be directed to the oral route or the nasal route or to any localized place. In this context, he has mentioned it in the treatment of vrana. So wherever the vrana is there, these fumes can be directed towards that area on the body. The third method is in the form of a varti. Traditionally in our texts, the varti preparation is mentioned as such. A reed of grass is selected around which 5 very thin layers of cloth is wrapped, which is then smeared with a thick paste of the drugs selected. The whole thing is then shade dried and the reed is removed after it dries completely. The wick is then smeared with oil or ghee and it is inserted into the dhuma netra and lit. The burning embers used are usually husks of grain. In some places people use cow dung cakes, wood shavings, and coal is also used to produce the fume. Now before we move on into how the dhupana acts or what is the significance of fumigating the drugs, it's really important to know what a fume or a smoke is. So a smoke can be defined as a suspension of airborne solid and liquid particulates, also gases emitted when a material undergoes combustion with the air. The fragrance present in the material or in the fume indicates the presence of volatile components. So the fragrance indicates the presence of volatile components. So basically, burning releases volatile antimicrobials present in the drugs into the smoke. Now moving on to the drugs. I just selected very little drugs, maybe some 15 to 16 of them. Moving on to the drug section. I've selected only very few drugs, maybe some 15 to 16, which will be easily available in the present situation. So the first and foremost to be that I selected is Nimba. So Nimba is considered as a Sarvaroga Nivarini. It has a very important synonym by the name of Sarvato Bhadra, which indicates that all the parts of this tree is medicinally significant, can be used for many treatment procedures. So this explanation is particularly evident if we go through the Arishta Dhupa. Arishta Dhupa is a yoga which is mentioned in the Kashyapa Kalpasthana. It has only 5 ingredients: Dhruta, Nimba Patra, Nimba Pushpa, Nimba Mula and Nimba Phala. It is considered as Sarva Roga Hara. So this plant is Azadirachta indica of the Meliaceae family. Its most important chemical constituent is the azadirachtin, which is a pesticide, which is used as a pesticide in many places. The seed oil of Nimba has triterpenoids by the name of nimbin, nimbinin, nimbidin, which acts as an insecticidal as well as antibacterial. The plant is also antiviral, antimalarial, antipyretic, antimicrobial and hypoglycemic. It is one of the most researched trees in the world. The next comes Gugulu. Gugulu has 3 important synonyms signifying its efficacy as a fumigating drug, which are Devadupa, Ruksha Gandhaka and Rekshoha. The oleogum resin of Commiphora mukul of the Burseraceae family is used as the Prayogyanga. It has a lot of volatile components which are antibacterial and anti-inflammatory. Next comes Hingu. The 2 important synonyms of Hingu, that is Ferula asafoetida of the Apiaceae family, are Ugragandham and Jantu Nashanam. Jantu Nashanam here specifically means denotes its antimicrobial effects or its power to destroy microbes. Ugragandha denotes its very pungent smell. It is an oleogum resin. The essential oils present in this resin are antimicrobial, antibacterial, antifungal, and are particularly effective in curbing the growth of mosquito larvae. So it can be very, very effectively used in controlling diseases where mosquitoes are the vectors. Sarjarasa is another drug which has been mentioned as an effective Rakshogna Dravya by Sushruta Acharya. Sarjarasa is actually the resin of Vatiria indica of the Dipterocarpaceae family, also known as white dammer. The volatile components of this resin are also particularly effective as antiseptic and antibacterial. Vacha is another such drug which has been mentioned by Sushruta Acharya. It is the rhizome of Acorus calamus of the Araceae family which we use as Vacha. Two important synonyms of Vacha indicating its effectiveness are Ugragandha, which denotes its pleasant aroma, and Mangalya, which indicates the purity associated with the use of this drug. The essential oils of Vacha have two important components, chiobunon and isochiobunon, which are insecticidal. These two components are particularly effective in controlling the beetles and other insects which reside in between stored food products. Next comes the ever famous Haridra, Curcuma longa of the Zingiberaceae family. Here also we use the rhizome. It has a lot of synonymous names, out of which Krimigni, Vishagni, Jwarantiga and Lakshmi indicate the multifaceted efficacy of this drug. Haridra Dhumavarti is an important wick preparation using Haridra, indicated in Dushta Pradishaya. It has a lot of very effective chemical constituents, out of which curcumin is an antibacterial, antiviral and antifungal. Tulasi is a plant which is grown in almost all households. We all know that the Panchanga of this plant, that is, all parts of this plant, are therapeutically very effective. Its most important synonym signifying its antimicrobial effect may be Apeta Rakshasi, which means that even the mere sight or any sort of contact with this plant destroys all diseases. It also has a synonym by the name of Pavani, which means that it can be considered as a symbol of purity. Bhutagni, which can indicate its antimicrobial nature. The essential oils and volatile components of Tulasi are antimicrobial, antiviral, insecticidal, antifungal and hepatoprotective. Sarshapa, that is different species, the seeds of different species of Brassica are taken as Sarshapa. The seeds are known by the names of Bhutagna, Rakshogna and Bhutanashana. The Gaura Sarshapa, which is seeds of Brassica campestris, has chemical compounds by the name of glucosinolates, which are bactericidal and also antifungal. Rajika, which denote the seeds of Brassica nigra, have isothiocyanates, which are antimicrobial. Tila, the seeds of Sesamum indicum of the Pedaliaceae family. These seeds have a good quantity of phenols, especially sesamol, sesamolin and sesamin, which are antifungal and antibacterial. Lashuna, or garlic. The bulbils of garlic are used for medicinal purposes. Two important synonyms are Ugragandha and Bhutagna as for the other fumigating drugs. Allicin, which is an organosulfur compound present in garlic bulb, is its most important compound, which acts as a fungicide, bactericide, antiviral and insect repellent. The diallyl monosulfide, which is present in the bulbs of garlic, has been researched and found out to be anti-cancerous. Maricha, that is our black pepper. The fruits of maricha are used for medicinal purposes. The name maricha itself comes from the derivation Mriyante Jantavo Anena iti, that which destroys microbes. The volatile oils in the fruits of maricha are researched to be antibacterial. Grita. So Grita, when we speak about Grita, Grita mainly contains fats, which when burnt down, breaks down into a compound called as acrolein, which is one of the simplest unsaturated fatty acids. It is a colorless liquid with an acrid smell. So the smell of burnt fat is actually caused by the glycerol in it breaking down into acrolein, also known as propinol. So acrolein or propinol is antimicrobial, pesticide. It is used as a pesticide, registered pesticide in some places, antifungal and antibacterial. In some European countries, it is also used as a registered herbicide to control the unwarranted growth of weeds in lakes and ponds. Industrially, this acrolein is produced from a chemical which goes by the name propylene. Lastly, I'd like to just mention the yoga of Aparajita Dhupachurna, which is quite famous right now in the background of our COVID-19. So this yoga has been mentioned by Vagbhatacharya in the Ashtanga Jwara Chikitsa. So the reference goes as Pura Dhyama Vacha Sarja Nimba Arka Guru Darubihi Dhupo Jwareshu Sarveshu Karyo Ayam Aparajitaha. So there are 8 ingredients in this yoga. Pura indicates Gugulu, Dhyama, Vacha, Sarja, Nimba, Arka, Guru indicates Agaru, and Daru indicates Devadaru. The yoga, that is the Aparajita Dhupachurna, is a proven microbial growth inhibitor. So the second drug which is mentioned in this yoga, Dhyama, it is actually Mayurashika. Mayurashika is Actinopterus dichotoma of the Pteridaceae family, a very little fern whose panjanga is used for therapeutic purposes. It is also an ingredient of our Eladigana mentioned in the Ashtanga Sutrasthana. So the flavonoids and phenols which are present in this little fern are antibacterial in action. To conclude, I'd like to say that there are many more drugs which are used for dhupana. But keeping into mind the current COVID-19 scenario, I thought of compiling information on drugs which may be available handily at home. So thank you for listening, and I'd also like to thank the Jitnyasa team for giving me this platform. As an ending note, stay home and stay safe.